Welcome back, guys! Konami have officially done it again. They brought back another old epic card, upgraded him, and somehow turned him into one of the scariest defenders in eFootball, because this new 107 epic Bonucci honestly makes the old card look useless now. And I know that sounds harsh because the old Bonucci was already a very solid defender. A lot of players genuinely liked that card because of how reliable he felt defensively. But after looking at this new version properly, I honestly think Konami completely changed Bonucci's level. This card feels like pure defensive control. So today we're talking about his stats, playstyle, player skills, and why the new version feels so much stronger than the old one. First, let's talk about the old Bonucci because I don't want people acting like that card was bad. The old 105 Bonucci was already a strong build-up center back. 100 defensive awareness, 100 defensive engagement, 99 tackling, and 100 aggression is still crazy even now. Defensively, the old version already positioned himself well, intercepted passes consistently, and won tackles cleanly. Then physically, he was solid too. 90 physical contact and 88 jump made him reliable against physical strikers and aerial duels. The biggest reason people liked the old Bonucci was because he felt calm defensively. Some defenders rush forward aggressively and leave gaps everywhere, but build-up defenders naturally stay more disciplined. Bonucci always felt like the defender cleaning up mistakes instead of creating chaos himself. Then his player skills were decent too. Fortress already made him stronger defensively when protecting leads, and Visionary Pass helped him distribute the ball surprisingly well from the back. So overall, the old Bonucci was definitely a good defender. But honestly, once you compare him directly to the new version, the difference becomes obvious immediately. First, let's talk about the defensive stats, because this new Bonucci honestly looks ridiculous. 103 defensive awareness and 103 tackling on a build-up center back is insane. That is literally endgame level defending. The awareness especially is terrifying because awareness is arguably the most important defensive stat in eFootball. It controls positioning, reactions, and how intelligently defenders read attacks. Defenders with high awareness intercept more passes, track runs better, and naturally position themselves correctly before danger even happens. So when you see 103 awareness on a build-up defender, you already know this card is going to feel unbelievably smart defensively. Then the 103 tackling is disgusting too. Once Bonucci commits to a challenge, attackers are genuinely in danger of losing the ball immediately. Then there's the defensive engagement and aggression too. 99 defensive engagement and 99 aggression is still elite. That means Bonucci constantly pressures attackers properly without feeling lazy defensively. But honestly, the biggest difference between the old and new version is not even just the stats. It's the player skills, because Konami gave this new Bonucci aerial fort and fortress together. And honestly, that combination is terrifying for a center back. Let's start with aerial fort because this skill completely changes aerial defending. Bonucci already has 89 jump, 89 physical contact, and decent heading. Those stats are already strong enough for most aerial situations. But aerial fort boosts how dominant the player feels during headers and aerial duels. That means this Bonucci is going to bully strikers in the air consistently. Crosses, corners, and long balls are all going to become harder to use against him. Then we talk about Fortress too. Fortress was already one of the best defensive skills in the game because it makes defenders even stronger when protecting leads later in matches. So now you're combining insane awareness, insane tackling, and boosted defensive performance under pressure. This card genuinely looks designed for players who want pure defensive security. Then we need to talk about the pace too because honestly, this is where the new Bonucci surprised me. 83 speed and 78 acceleration is actually decent for a build-up center back with these defensive stats. People always panic whenever a defender doesn't have crazy pace, but build-up defenders don't rely entirely on recovery speed. They rely more on positioning and reading the game properly. And because Bonucci's awareness is so ridiculously high, he naturally positions himself better before counters even fully happen. Then physically, he still looks excellent too. 89 physical contact means attackers are going to struggle badly trying to bully him. Now let's directly compare him to the old version because this is where the gap becomes obvious. The old Bonucci still has slightly better physical contact and slightly better passing because of Visionary Pass. But honestly, none of that matters enough compared to what the new version gained defensively because the new Bonucci simply feels more dominant in the areas that matter most. 103 awareness and 103 tackling is just ridiculous. Then adding aerial fort makes him even scarier against the current crossing meta and physical strikers. The old version was reliable, the new version feels oppressive. And honestly, that's the difference. Then there's another important thing too. The current eFootball meta heavily rewards defenders with elite awareness and tackling. Attackers now have momentum dribbling, blitz curler, and all these broken offensive skills. Defenders need insane stats now just to survive consistently. And this new Bonucci genuinely looks built for the current meta specifically. He feels like one of those defenders attackers simply hate facing because he constantly positions himself correctly and wins the ball cleanly. Then we also need to talk about the playstyle because build-up is still one of the safest center back playstyles in eFootball. Build-up defenders stay disciplined and don't rush forward recklessly. Bonucci's calm positioning combined with these defensive stats makes him look incredibly reliable. So now the biggest question, does the new Bonucci really make the old card useless? Honestly, yes, almost. The old Bonucci is still a good defender, but once you compare both cards directly, it becomes hard to argue against the new version. Konami upgraded the most important defensive areas while also giving him one of the best defensive skill combinations possible. The old card feels like a solid defender. The new card feels like a defensive wall.